Good morning. One of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded has caused devastation in Jamaica and is now gathering strength as it heads towards Cuba. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first, that breaking news this morning. In the last few moments, the Home Office has confirmed that Hadish Kabatu has been deported. He is the asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a teenage girl and then was then accidentally released from prison last week. Tamara Cohen, our political correspondent, is here with more on this. Tamara.
Yes, Hadish Kabatu has arrived in Ethiopia. He has been deported, and we can confirm that he is now back in his home country. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, said that last week's blunder, in which he was released accidentally on Friday and spotted wandering around by members of the public, should never have happened. And she says she has pulled every lever to deport Mr Kabatu and remove him from British soil. We can see Home Office officials escorting Mr Kabatu onto a flight in a London airport last night, going to the Ethiopian capital. You can just, in the distance there, make out them boarding that plane, and we can confirm that he has arrived. The Home Office have confirmed that he has arrived there. David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Justice Secretary, who's had to answer questions about all this, has said that Kabatu has been returned to Ethiopia where he belongs, and he's grateful to Home Office colleagues, but clearly a mistake is unacceptable of this nature, and they want to get to the bottom of why it happened. OK, Tamara, thank you very much indeed. We'll be speaking to the government at 7:15 here, and there'll be a Home Office Minister as that happens, so we'll talk to him more about that kind of stuff. But right now, let's turn back to the hurricane that's causing devastation in Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa is now on course to make landfall in Cuba after leaving a trail of destruction across the country. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner has more now.
Hurricane Melissa churned through Jamaica. And when the storm cleared, its full, unforgiving ferocity came into focus. A row of colourful houses and shops in the town of Black River chewed up. They've had hurricanes here before, but not like this. The roof of the hospital peeled back in a matter of minutes. Oh, God have mercy. Entire towns redrawn by floodwater.
This is a disaster. This is a disaster.
People who lost everything, looking to the skies for some sign of mercy.
We're on the brink right now, we're on the brink.
This hurricane is the nightmare scenario authorities had feared. A weather system driven by winds as fast as a race car, moving through as slowly as a cyclist. Even as the storm approached landfall, officials still begging people to evacuate.
This is one of the worst experiences that we'd have ever encountered. We can go back to Hurricane Charlie in 1951. We can go to Hurricane Gilbert in 1980-89. We have had other hurricanes. Beryl last year.
Accelerated by the increasingly warm waters of the Caribbean, Melissa exploded in size and speed.
Kuzinka fly.
Coastal communities where many homes are wooden shacks stood no chance. Around 25,000 tourists are trapped too in Jamaica's holiday resorts, Chantel among them.
I don't know if you can hear our surroundings a little bit here, but it is pounding. Few windows are broken. A lot of water is coming in, so we're just basically pushing that towels and stuff at the doors like that coming in. And the level of noise is ridiculous. Trees have already bended over and flew away, and some of our roof is currently off.
The challenge now will be getting people out and aid in. This is one of the country's two major airports. It was a gateway to the beaches of the island's north coast. Tourism driving 1/3 of Jamaica's economy. The recovery will be long and hard. Relief missions are already underway. Miami has a large Jamaican expat population. Volunteers here pack tinned sausages, tomatoes and beans to be flown over. Here, people fear a humanitarian disaster will unfold. Dana was born and grew up on the island.
Most of the houses in Jamaica, they're not built properly for hurricanes, so we're worried about the people in Jamaica. As much as Jamaica can get, please send help.
Nature conspired to send this perfect storm barrelling through Jamaica. The extent of the damage and the loss of life is still unclear, but scientific understanding of why these monster storms are growing more frequent is crystallising. Martha Kellner, Sky News.
Jamaica's capital, Kingston, has been badly impacted by the storm as well, with severe flooding and major damage to much of the city's infrastructure. Joining me now is author Kwame McPherson, a resident of Kingston, an author and someone we spoke to yesterday. And Kwame, I'm really glad to see you're okay and glad to see you've still got a smile on your face. How's the last 24 hours been?
It was a revelation in terms of that I heard from the clip there about the noise from the tourists, and yeah, the level of noise was incredible. I've never heard anything like it before, and to go through that experience is something to remember, you know. But yeah, we're here. I'm here. Yeah, smiling, and funny enough, I just heard music being played outside on the street. So we're back to doing what we always do, you know, to overcome what we've been through.
Kwame, where did you shelter? Did you just stay home, close the doors and windows, or did you do anything out of the ordinary?
No. I just stayed in where I'm at, so where I live is pretty sound. It's pretty solid. The main thing in terms of people evacuated is for flood-prone areas. So where I'm living, I don't have that issue. But it was traumatizing to hear the wind and the rain. It was constant. It's almost like you had 3 rounds in a boxing match. The first round was just before Melissa actually landed. It was a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then when Melissa really landed, that's when it actually increased in intensity. And even after she left, there was still elements of how intense the noise and the rain and everything else it was. And right now it's quiet. So we're now, I would say, we're now more or less back to normality in regards to no wind or rain. So we'll see what the devastation is like tomorrow morning, though, when we go out and have a look on the street.
Yes, of course, it's just gone 1 o'clock in the morning where you are, Kwame. So no sense as yet. Given it's the middle of the night, it's dark. You're not easy to see what kind of damage has been done.
No, not yet. By tomorrow morning, when we do, everyone does come out of the house and look around, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot of devastation in Kingston, which didn't get the brunt of Melissa, but it's damage nonetheless. It's the majority of the damage is to the west of the island, where a lot of the impact actually have been felt, you know. But there will still be damage and devastation in Kingston, but not as much as elsewhere.
Yes, of course. The line that Melissa was tracking is to your west. Nevertheless, I'm sure you have friends and family in other parts of the country. Have you all been keeping in touch and checking in on each other?
Well, funny enough, it's difficult because there's no electricity or internet at the moment to the west. But Kingston, obviously, because we're talking now, right? So, but to the west, it's very difficult to get in contact with anyone. But I know that the agencies, the companies, the businesses will get up and running very quickly because they're pretty adept now, based on what happened last year with Beryl. So I'm sure that connections will be made immediately within a day or two. But not at the moment.
What do you make of how the authorities prepared Jamaica for things, Kwame? We saw the Prime Minister speaking yesterday, who certainly looked pretty nervous about what was coming your way.
I would say that at least a week and a half, 2 weeks, they were really on top, proactive. There's a lot of press briefings, you know, with the government and the agencies. Everyone was working together. It was very well organized and coordinated. The information was shared, and there's a lot that was done via social media. So I would say that what the government and the agencies were very, very good in terms of sharing that what needed to be done, and especially when about where people lived in flood-prone areas, they kept saying, "Listen, you need to get out. You need to evacuate." So far, as the Prime Minister had said earlier, we're unaware of what, you know, if there are any fatalities, because we haven't heard yet. But aside from the 3 that happened pre-Melissa landing, but everyone at the government and agencies have been very well proactive and did very well in terms of communicating the urgency of Melissa and what the impact it will have, and they were correct.
When we were talking yesterday, Kwame, we were talking about Gilbert, which was back in, I think, 1988, which you know, you and others remember quite well.
Yeah.
Given since then we've seen an increase in the effects of climate change, are you nervous that things like Melissa could become more regular in hitting Jamaica?
Yeah, because it's almost, because I remember when hurricanes used to be, the frequency of hurricanes during the hurricane season, from June the 1st to the 30th of November, used to be a lot more. There were a lot more instances or urgent notifications of hurricanes that were starting or tropical storms. What happened this year and even last year is that there seemed to be one storm or one hurricane which has an amalgamation of all the hurricanes throughout the season. So it's almost like it's so powerful and intense that we have the damage that we have last year with Beryl. And even though Beryl just touched us, but this year we've now had Melissa. So I think it's all coming down into a singular event where we have one powerful hurricane which will pass through the Caribbean going forward. And it does seem to be down to climate change, the water's being warmer.
Yes, I mean, President Trump himself was asked about the hurricane, and given that he's a resident of Florida, he knows all about the impact of them. And he was saying that one at level 5, like Melissa has been, is unusual. Used to 4s and 3s, he said, but one of this wind speed and power is unusual. You feel the same way?
I do, and I think that going forward, like I said, because last year we had Beryl, and Beryl was also a very powerful Category 4 storm or hurricane, and I think we will be going forward. We will see more of those kind of events where we have a singular, massive hurricane which passes through the region. So I really do think so, and I think because of the warmer waters, the power and the intensity of hurricanes will only grow. We're probably going to have a Category 6 one of these days. Who knows?
Well, look, hopefully not. Kwame, final question. When we spoke yesterday, given that you are an author, and I said, how are you going to spend the night? You're going to carry on writing. Did you get anything written down?
I did, actually. I did. And on the back of, because I'm the Jamaica's first Commonwealth Short Story Prize winner back in 2023. So I have to churn out a lot of material. So yeah, I got work done. I'm working on a few things.
Really look forward to reading those words. And also, Kwame, really glad you're okay, and really appreciate you staying up late once more to talk to us, especially considering the circumstances. Good to see you, and always that winning smile as well. Kwame, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Well, this is how the system is tracking the hurricane right now, past beyond Jamaica, although clearly it took its time, heading towards, as you can see, Cuba, which is not ideal, given that in terms of poverty, it's probably quite a bit worse off than Jamaica is. Let's bring our science correspondent Thomas Moore, who was here with us yesterday as well and been tracking things closely. It took its time, Thomas, didn't it, to get across Jamaica, and now it's slowly making its way towards Cuba. I think when we were talking yesterday, it was moving, the eye of the storm, at only about 5 miles per hour.
Yes, it did pick up pace slightly as it moved across the island and weakened quite considerably because it is quite mountainous. That creates quite an updraft of winds, and that destroys the rotation. But now that it's back over those warm Caribbean seas, 2 degrees warmer than normal, it's beginning to recharge as it heads towards Cuba, and that's a big worry. So although it hit Cuba with wind speeds of 185 miles an hour, making it the 3rd most intense Atlantic hurricane ever recorded. The wind speeds are now currently 130, but as I say, picking up speed. It's now about 45, 50 miles off the south coast of Cuba, expected to hit the island in about 4 hours' time or so. Difficult to predict because, as you say, that forward motion is varying. But it is leaving that trail of destruction, a corridor of destruction, it was described by the Prime Minister, over the western half of Jamaica. Now, we just don't know how bad that is at the moment because, as you heard there from Kwame, the internet's off, the power's off. Yeah. There is no access, particularly overnight. It's going to be another 5 hours before the sun rises and we get some idea on the scale of destruction. But it will be, our first glimpses will be from Kingston. And that is, although it got hit, it didn't get hit anywhere badly as the western half of the island.
And also, with it being Category 5, we were talking of winds of 175 miles yesterday. 185 miles an hour it turned out to be, which we've had winds, obviously, in recent months here up to 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, which can cause real problems. Almost double that. It really is hard to get your head around it.
Yes, I was in Northern Ireland for one of the big storms last winter, and the gusts then were sort of 80 miles an hour. It was hard to stand up. And there was a phenomenal amount of debris flying around. To witness something which is at least twice as strong, I mean, I just can't even imagine. The US National Hurricane Center said that anything in the way of those eye wall winds, so the eye is the center of the hurricane, it's very calm inside, but immediately around that, you've got extremely violent winds. That's where those figures of 185 miles an hour come from. Now, the Hurricane Center said anything in the path of that would have suffered total structural failure. So you're looking at a very wide corridor where there's going to be immense destruction and almost certainly loss of life. Of course, that won't be confirmed until people can get in. But the Jamaican government has now issued what it's called a needs list. That's the most immediate needs for what it needs to recover and rescue people on the island. That includes things like 100,000 hygiene kits, 100,000 mattresses, 100,000 cots, torches, spades, shovels. It is going to be a phenomenal recovery, which is going to take weeks.
Yeah, they're going to need international support as well, aren't they, Thomas? Thank you very much indeed. In a moment, we'll speak to our weather presenter, Joe Wheeler. Before we do, let's just bring you some live pictures from Cuba as it braces itself for the arrival of Melissa. Beg your pardon, not live pictures, just pictures from Cuba. Here we are. Look, you can see the rain has already started coming down. It's similar to how things looked this time yesterday in Jamaica. You were seeing the rain increasing as Melissa headed closer to making landfall, as Thomas just said there, 50 miles or so away from making landfall in Cuba. But the rains come in advance of the winds and those storm surges as well. So again, another sizable Caribbean country bracing itself for the arrival of this storm. I think it's been downgraded from a 5 to a 4 in terms of category, but nevertheless still very powerful and very dangerous. As I said, let's bring in Joe Wheeler now, our weather presenter. And Joe, I think it's worth reiterating just why this is happening. I don't know if you heard us speaking to Kwame, who is in Kingston, but had been used to hurricane season having more regular, slightly less powerful hurricanes happening. Now it seems to be there's some mega hurricane coming in and causing this kind of devastation. Is that related to climate change, the warming seas, for example?
Well, it's very hard to say whether that's related to climate change. In fact, for this season, I think 15 storms and 7 hurricanes were predicted. There have been far fewer. There have been 7 storms and 5 hurricanes. So maybe fewer but more powerful. It's very, very hard to say. I mean, this particular hurricane, Melissa, has been quite extraordinary. Obviously, it's been tracked for days. And it was meteorologically perfect. It was symmetrical. The eye wall was truly amazing. It was flat, calm in the middle. In fact, there were birds flying. And as we now know, the pressure dropped to 892, which makes it near on record breaking. And you mentioned those very, very strong winds, because it made landfall over Jamaica as a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of 185. The wind gusts are yet to be established. There are reports of 220 miles per hour, but of course it will take some time to establish that. And also, of course, for it to be verified, the equipment needs to work. And when you get winds of that strength, it's likely to break the equipment. So that makes life a lot more difficult as well. This certainly has been an extraordinary one. This is the first time in recorded history that Jamaica has taken a direct hit from a Category 5. And as we were hearing there, it lost a little of its intensity as it travelled over the mountainous regions of western parts of Jamaica. But then it started to pick up again. We also haven't seen an eye wall replacement in this storm, which would also have weakened it a little. So it's just picking up more and more energy as it heads towards Cuba.
It really is eye-opening. You say the eye of the storm gets so calm that nature starts to, come out of where it's hiding from and birds start flying. And then clearly they don't realise exactly what's going on in terms of the storm passing over them. I mean, that really is eye-opening. It must be terrifying for anything that's in the eye to know that the storm is going to pass over them again at some point.
Well, I believe there are a group of people who are hurricane hunters who go and fly through the hurricane to take measurements and to see what's going on. And on this particular occasion, they had to abort the mission. They had suddenly had to go way up in the air, aimed about 1,000 feet, and then lost as much almost as quickly. And at that point, they said, no, this is too dangerous. This is more than the plane can take. And they returned to base. Now, that's the first time I've ever heard of that happening. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but certainly that's the first time I've heard of it happening. And this has just been a monster storm right the way through. I don't think Jamaica's out of the woods yet. Even though the storm has technically passed by, we're still looking at increased flooding, storm surge, of course, particularly along the south coast. Still got some very strong winds there. And of course, as you mentioned, we've got power lines down, there's structural damage to the buildings. And, of course, it's going to be very hard to make your way around or even communicate.
Joe, really appreciate talking to you about it this morning. Fascinating insight there. Thank you very much indeed. You're watching Breakfast here on Sky News. Coming up, we'll have more on the deportation of that man who was released accidentally from prison last week, Hadish Kabatu, who has now boarded a plane back to Ethiopia.
People want intelligent leaders, but it can be done in a less buttoned up way.
Have a conversation in the same way that people do at home. Sophie is the best in the business.
If politicians are not answering the question, I'm not going to let them get away with that. This is my interview. Look, this is ridiculous. And there is nobody better to cut through the noise than Will.
You did say there wouldn't be further tax hikes. You can no longer make that promise. Mornings with Ridge and Frost. I literally can't wait to get going.
Play it cool, Will. Play it cool.
First Minister, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you.
How are you feeling? Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims were in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Conor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute.
We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Conor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death. Scotland has a shameful record, worse than England, the worst in Europe.
So why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder. Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news. It's over, isn't it? The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster. This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country. A dangerous murderer. Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Innes after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me. I'm so grateful.
Sky News. The full story first.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force. It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
A reminder of our breaking news this morning. The Home Office has confirmed in the last half hour or so that Hadish Kabatu, the man who was mistakenly released from prison, has now been deported. He sexually assaulted a teenage girl and was accidentally let out last week before being reapprehended and now sent to Ethiopia, where he came from. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has said that last week's blunder should never have happened, and I share the public's anger that it did. I would like to thank the police for rapidly bringing Mr Kabatu into custody and the public for their vigilance. She continues, I've pulled every lever to deport Mr Kabatu and remove him off British soil. I'm pleased to confirm this vile child sex offender has been deported. Our streets are safer because of it. Next, Sky News has questioned Lord Mandelson for the first time since he was sacked as the UK's ambassador to the US, following increased scrutiny over his relationship with the paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. He's kept a low profile since he left the post only days before Donald Trump's state visit to the UK last month.
Lord Mandelson, sir, did you tell Keir Starmer everything about the nature of your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Was there full disclosure about your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein before you were appointed ambassador? Did you tell Keir Starmer everything? Did you leave anything out? So can you clear up for us? How many times did you visit Jeffrey Epstein? How many times did you visit him, sir? Sir, who are the friends you referred to in your birthday message to Epstein in his birthday book? So are you going to release all the correspondence between you and Jeffrey Epstein? Lord Mandelson, these are important matters, sir. Are you going to release the correspondence? Was Keir Starmer aware?
Now, hospital sources in Gaza say at least 65 Palestinian people have been killed in Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, Israel's military says a soldier has been killed in combat in the south of the Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered strikes on Gaza, claiming that Hamas had opened fire on Israel's forces in the south of Gaza. The hostilities cast even more doubt over the continuation of the ceasefire, with both sides accusing each other of violating the deal. An Afghan national who entered the UK in a lorry in 2020 has been arrested over a fatal stabbing in Uxbridge in West London on Monday. One man died in the assault and two others were seriously injured, including a 14-year-old boy. Police are describing the attack as a senseless act of violence. The Morning After pill is now available for free in nearly 10,000 pharmacies in England, saving women up to £30. Until now, emergency contraception had only been available free of charge at GPs and in sexual health clinics. US President Donald Trump has arrived in South Korea, the third country of his Asia tour, where high-profile trade talks are expected to take place with both the APEC summit host country and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Asia correspondent Helen Ann Smith is there for us now. Helen Ann, tell us about the significance of this then.
Well, look, nations from around the world, around this part of the world, around the Asia Pacific, are gathering for this APEC summit. It is theoretically about trade, it is about economic cooperation. But the headline grabbers will really be the meetings that are happening on the periphery, for sure. Today, for President Trump, that means a sit-down with President Lee of South Korea. South Korea, just one of so many countries in this region, still left absolutely reeling from the tariffs that Donald Trump put into place. South Korea, really one of those countries that absolutely relies on America for its security, particularly vis-a-vis North Korea. So far, we've heard from that meeting that Donald Trump has talked about building up economic and manufacturing cooperation with South Korea. The South Korean president has specifically asked for help from the Americans to develop nuclear-propelled submarines, again, to help target that threat that it sees from North Korea. But look, Korea really one of those, really kind of a symbolic example of that complicated balance that so many countries in this region face. And it is the balance of how to offset the influence of another great power in this region. And that power, of course, is China, because China's influence, China's encroachment is felt everywhere here. And I think that really has been top of Donald Trump's agenda, trying to bolster his allegiances in this region against China, trying to bolster his supply chains in this region against economic moves from China. And look, of course, that all-important sit-down tomorrow between President Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump. All eyes on that. Can they hash out a trade deal to resolve this escalating tit-for-tat trade war that has existed between them? And it will have been the first time the two will have met in 6 years, and really, really very high stakes indeed. So look, all eyes on that tomorrow. Donald Trump has said today he thinks it's going to go very well. But look, even if they do reach some sort of agreement on trade and on tariffs, on export controls, there is still so much that politically divides them, and the stakes are very high indeed.
Certainly are. Helen Ann in South Korea for us this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Still to come here on Breakfast on Sky News, we'll have the latest on Hurricane Melissa as it now heads towards Cuba.
First Minister, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you. How are you feeling?
Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims are in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Connor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute.
We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Connor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death. Scotland has a shameful record, worse than England, the worst in Europe.
So why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder. Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news. It's over, isn't it? The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster. This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country. A dangerous murderer. Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me.
I'm so grateful.
Sky News. The full story first.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force. It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, welcome back to Breakfast. Coming up, we'll be talking about sport and we'll be taking a look in the papers as well. But first, our top stories right now. Jamaica has been hit by one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes on record, with the Prime Minister declaring the country is now a disaster area. The government says the island's infrastructure has been severely damaged and homes have been destroyed, roads blocked by debris, and 500,000 people thought to have been left without power. Thousands of others spend the night in shelters. Thousands of British tourists are this morning stranded in the Caribbean country. The Foreign Office has set up a crisis centre to support 8,000 Brits who are in Jamaica. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says that specialist rapid deployment teams are in place to provide consular assistance. Jamaica's government says it hopes to reopen the country's airports as soon as tomorrow to help distribute emergency relief. President Trump has said that the US is keeping a close eye on the damage that was caused by Hurricane Melissa and is prepared to send aid to help the recovery. The hurricane has now strengthened again to a Category 4 as it moves across the sea towards Cuba, which is next in line to be hit. It's around 50 miles off the coast at present. More than 700,000 people have been evacuated from coastal areas of the country, and there are warnings of flash floods and landslides again, which could, of course, be very dangerous. Let's turn back now to the hurricane that is causing devastation in Jamaica. Melissa is on course to make landfall, as I just said, in Cuba, after leaving a trail of destruction. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner has more now.
Hurricane Melissa churned through Jamaica. And when the storm cleared, its full, unforgiving ferocity came into focus. A row of colourful houses and shops in the town of Black River chewed up. They've had hurricanes here before, but not like this. The roof of the hospital peeled back in a matter of minutes.
Oh, God have mercy.
Entire towns redrawn by floodwater.
This is a disaster. This is a disaster.
People who lost everything, looking to the skies for some sign of mercy.
We're on the brink. We're on the brink right now. We're on the brink.
This hurricane is the nightmare scenario authorities had feared. A weather system driven by winds as fast as a race car, moving through as slowly as a cyclist. Even as the storm approached landfall, officials still begging people to evacuate.
This is one of the worst experiences that we have ever encountered. We can go back to Hurricane Charlie in 1951. We can go to Hurricane Gilbert in 1980-89. We have had other hurricanes. Beryl last year.
Accelerated by the increasingly warm waters of the Caribbean, Melissa exploded in size and speed.
Kuzinka fly.
Coastal communities where many homes are wooden shacks stood no chance. Around 25,000 tourists are trapped too in Jamaica's holiday resorts, Chantel among them.
I don't know if you can hear our surroundings a little bit here, but it is pounding. A few windows are broken. A lot of water is coming in, so we're just basically pushing that towels and stuff at the doors like that coming in. And the level of noise is ridiculous. Trees have already bended over and flew away, and some of our roof is currently off.
The challenge now will be getting people out and aid in. This is one of the country's two major airports. It was a gateway to the beaches of the island's north coast. Tourism driving 1/3 of Jamaica's economy. The recovery will be long and hard. Relief missions are already underway. Miami has a large Jamaican expat population. Volunteers here pack tinned sausages, tomatoes and beans to be flown over. Here, people fear a humanitarian disaster will unfold. Dana was born and grew up on the island.
Most of the houses in Jamaica, they're not built properly for hurricanes, so we're worried about the people in Jamaica. As much as Jamaica can get, please send help.
Nature conspired to send this perfect storm barrelling through Jamaica. The extent of the damage and the loss of life is still unclear, but scientific understanding of why these monster storms are growing more frequent is crystallising. Martha Kellner, Sky News.
Thomas is here now, our science correspondent Thomas Moore. A bit of an update on the location of Melissa as it heads towards Cuba.
Yeah, we've got a better location. So it's within 20 miles now of the Cuban coast. So it's likely to hit the coast in 2 hours or so, judging by its forward speed. And ahead of that is a phenomenal amount of rain. And we've already seen pictures of flooding in Cuba. But the trail of destruction in Jamaica is immense. The Prime Minister talked about a corridor of destruction across the west of the island, probably about 40 miles wide, where the worst of the winds are going to be affected. And you know, the National Hurricane Centre talked about total structural failure of buildings within that immediate zone. But it's a power cut there. There's no way of communicating with people there, so we just don't know until daylight in about 4 hours' time just what kind of recovery is going to be needed.
Hurricanes are not unusual in this part of the world. This is hurricane season, but this is particularly strong. The strongest on record to hit Jamaica, in fact.
Yes, in fact, the third strongest Atlantic hurricane on record. I mean, that really does put it into context. Much stronger than Katrina, even. 185 mile an hour sustained winds, gusts of well over 200. And yesterday, scientists were saying, well, this is a Category 5, but, you know, we really need to now invent a Category 6.
Yes.
Because it's likely that, well, this is going to become the norm, that things are going to get even more intense. Now, climate change is not increasing the frequency of hurricanes, but it is increasing both the intensity of the winds and also the intensity of the rainfall. Warm air carries more water, and that's dropped once hurricanes come over land. And this is going to create huge problems for vulnerable communities. These are poor islands, relatively, in the Caribbean, who are lying in the path of these incredibly destructive storms.
And also, we've heard from people visiting Jamaica right now. Jamaica relies a lot on tourism for its economy. Of course, it grows a lot of its own food. We heard from Brian, a chef there yesterday, who we'll hear about later on, saying that the course of the storm is effectively over Jamaica's breadbasket area, where a lot of their produce comes from as well. So there's that double whammy to the economy and the damage to tourism, as well as the damage to agriculture as well.
Yes, and indeed, on the Jamaican government has just released a needs list, a priority for relief. And apart from the immediate human needs of cots and beds and torches and that kind of stuff, there is a long list of vegetable and fruit seeds they need. And that just demonstrates exactly what you're saying, that the bread basket is empty now. It does need refilling for next growing season.
Thomas, thank you for the time being. A bit earlier on, I spoke to Kingston resident Kwame McPherson, who mentioned maybe Category 6 hurricanes coming in. And Kwame's in Kingston, which hasn't had the full force of the hurricane, but nevertheless, he told us it was still traumatising being there.
The level of noise was incredible. I've never heard anything like it before. And to go through that experience is something to remember, you know. But yeah, we're here. I'm here. Yeah, smiling, and funny enough, I just heard music being played outside on the street. So we're back to doing what we always do, you know, to overcome what we've been through. It was traumatizing to hear the wind and the rain. It was, you know, it's constant. It's almost like you had 3 rounds in a boxing match. The first round was just before Melissa actually landed. It was a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then when Melissa really landed, that's when it actually increased in intensity. And even after she left, there was still elements of how intense the noise and the rain and everything else it was. And
that was Kwame talking to me from Kingston a bit earlier on. OK, time now for a quick look at the sport.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Well, Evertonians are getting restless. Their team can't score goals and they need a win. The prospect of another long struggle against relegation is already looming. And Ruud Gullit isn't happy at the way things are mapping out at Newcastle either. They're just as desperate for points. So a real crunch match this.
There was some whisperings in the press, but there was no indication whatsoever of the imminent nature of what was going to happen that night.
It happened very quickly. I think I only got told maybe a couple of days leading up to the Newcastle game that the agent was phoning me saying that the club were looking to sell you. Yeah, it came out the blue really. Something I wasn't looking to do, I wasn't looking to move. Didn't want to move for the club.
We were under pressure from the bank to get the overdraft down. We were playing Newcastle and the chairman and joint owner were there and I wasn't there, I wasn't privy. It was news to me when it came through. Newcastle had come in with an £8 million offer. And Peter accepted it.
There were murmurs as the night progressed, and then it sort of reached the crescendo around the half an hour of the game mark, and I was getting bombarded by the press You know, Duncan's going to Newcastle, Duncan's going to Newcastle. There was a group of fans appeared outside the stadium at the reception door.
A lot of us were in Spain covering.
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Time now to take a look at the weather in the British Isles, at least, and it's milder but changeable with heavy rain and strong winds likely to end the week. It's fairly windy now and mild in the south, but let's keep that in perspective. Many places are dry, but the far north, the northwest and extreme southeast have blustery showers, while over southern Britain there is more general rain from the Bristol Channel to the Wash. The far southeast will see further locally heavy showers this morning, while East Anglia and the rest of southern England can expect a little bit of patchy rain. South Wales will dry up, and elsewhere there'll be sunshine and showers, with the showers concentrated in the northwest of England and Wales. Southeastern Britain will slowly brighten during the afternoon, but expect little change elsewhere, although showers will become more isolated. Most places will turn dry and clear as we head towards tonight, with a patchy frost and some fog developing as winds ease off. Looking ahead to tomorrow, it's going to turn wet and very windy from the southwest, but southeastern England and northeastern Scotland look mainly dry until after dark. Severe gales are likely around western coasts, while Ireland may see gusts exceeding 50 miles per hour inland. Still to come here on Breakfast on Sky News. I'll be joined by Tamara. We'll take a quick look at some of the stories on the front pages and inside today's papers.
First Minister, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you. How are you feeling?
Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims were in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Connor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected. Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute. We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Connor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death. Scotland has a shameful record, worse than England, the worst in Europe.
Why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder. Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news. It's over, isn't it? The Americans say he is, Rossi, a fraudster. This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country. A dangerous murderer.
Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me.
I'm so grateful.
Sky News. The full story first.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force. It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Dominic Waghorn, Sky's International Affairs Editor, covering a world that seems to be unravelling.
It's not his country, it's ours.
Sky News, the full story first, free wherever you get your news. It's half an hour now past the deadline that Hamas issued, and we've now seen a third barrage of rockets coming in.
Welcome back. Time now to take a quick look at what is on this morning's front pages. And The Guardian leads with an exclusive with the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, where she rejects gloomy predictions from the Office of Budget Responsibility amid suggestions she may increase taxes in next month's budget. The Metro reports on Hurricane Melissa, calling it pure fury. Looking towards the eye, it suggests the storm could turn out to be worse than Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago, certainly what we've been hearing from Thomas in it being more powerful than Katrina. And on the front of the Mail, they have led with the latest on the triple stabbing in Uxbridge, where one person died and two others, including a 14-year-old, were injured. The FT reports that Microsoft is now valued at more than $4 trillion after a restructure of it, or rather OpenAI, saw it join forces with the ChatGPT owner. The Telegraph leads with Labour demanding councils with a 4-day working week are to return to 5 days. House builders have told the Times that Labour is due to miss its target of 1.5 million new homes being built during this Parliament. The Daily Star takes aim at ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss, claiming she never reads newspapers. She may not read the Star after that one. And on the front of the Sun, a campaign to stop next month's budget impacting gamblers. Their headline, Save Our Bets. Let's return to this morning's top story. Jamaica has been hit by one of the strongest ever Atlantic hurricanes, at least on record, with the Prime Minister declaring the country a disaster area. Jamaica's government says the island's infrastructure has been severely damaged. Homes have been destroyed, roads blocked by debris, and 500,000 people left without power. Thousands of others spent the night in shelters. And thousands of British tourists, too, are this morning stranded on the Caribbean island. The Foreign Office has set up a crisis centre to support up to 8,000 Brits who are in Jamaica. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says the specialist rapid deployment teams are in place to provide consular assistance. Jamaica's government says it hopes to reopen the country's airports as soon as tomorrow to be able to distribute emergency relief that it needs. Meanwhile, President Trump has said the US is keeping a close eye on the damage caused by Melissa and is prepared to send aid to help in the recovery. The hurricane is strengthening once more, up to Category 4 as it now moves across the sea towards Cuba, which is next in line. It's less than 20 miles away, from landfall there, and more than 700,000 people have been evacuated from coastal areas as a result. There are warnings again of flash floods and landslides, which of course could be very dangerous. I'm going to bring in our science correspondent Thomas Moore now with the latest on this. So just to reiterate, Thomas, it's a lot closer to Cuba than we thought first thing this morning. When's it due to make landfall?
Well, it's down to 15 miles off the south coast now, and it's actually slightly lower intensity. It's now a Category 3 hurricane, 125 miles an hour, so it has weakened slightly. Now, it had been recharging as it moved away from Jamaica back over those warm Caribbean seas, and that has helped it to pick up the wind speeds, but it is just easing off slightly as it moves in closer. But ahead of that, there is intense rainfall, which is already hitting Cuba, a large area of the eastern side of the island, already struggling with an economic crisis. So structures there really are not built to withstand a hurricane of this ferocity. The National Hurricane Centre still expecting this to be a very major storm, very major hurricane as it moves inland, crosses the island in the coming hours, and then moves on towards the Bahamas.
We know there's plenty of people in Britain with Jamaican heritage and relatives and friends they'll be worried about there. But when it comes to Cuba, an awful lot of Cuban expats, the Cuban diaspora in the US as well. And you'd imagine, despite their sort of checkered history in terms of their relationship, Cuba will be looking to the US to provide some sort of support after this.
Yes, there's going to be an uneasy political relationship between the government of President Trump and, of course, the communist Cuban government, which they would need to get through to enable some kind of aid relationship. But President Trump has talked about aid for Jamaica being a possibility if they need it. And already we're seeing from Jamaica a needs list being issued by the government, everything from mattresses to vegetable seeds. The scale of destruction there is a little bit difficult to know at the moment because of the power and the internet outages in the western side of Jamaica. But certainly the National Hurricane Center in the United States was predicting total structural failure around the eye of the storm as it travelled diagonally across a large swathe of the island.
Just very briefly, Thomas, I mean, a lot of people remember Katrina in 2005 hitting New Orleans and the devastation it caused there. Melissa is more powerful.
Yes, so Katrina in 2005 led to just under 1,400 deaths and something like £100 billion worth of damage. I mean, it was huge. And of course, a lot of that was done by the levees breaking and the flooding and so on. We don't know what's going to happen in Jamaica. It's a very different terrain, mountainous. We're likely to see a lot of landslides, potentially houses just washed away as the water has channeled through gullies and that kind of thing. And it will take rescuers a long time to reach some of these cut-off communities to give them the help they need and to assess their needs.
Thomas, thanks for now. It is heading towards Cuba, 15 miles away. We're keeping a close eye on Hurricane Melissa this morning.